Okay, so this is part six of my deconstruction of this particular video, and it was a bit of a challenge to get through the last one. I was kind of um, it was I can't say I'm surprised after all, but it's just like with the recent news. Right, I'm a bit of a movie or film buff, right? And I try to follow on the news on what goes on in that particular realm of human existence. And the recent news that the next Star Wars movie, number 10, is going to be directed by a Pakistani feminist documentary director who likes to make men feel bad. It's going to be the next Star Wars. It's like it's beyond crazy now, right? It's on another planet level strange, right? It's like it's I'm not. It's sometimes it's interesting to add a metaphor to things in order to put it into perspective, right? And it's not like a metaphor, as I pointed out several times, is a kind of philosophy. It isn't, but it might help you get the notion or get it under the skin and so on. But then get back to the actual philosophy, of course, right? But it's something like you couldn't choose a director that was further away from what I would think would be a suitable director for Star Wars. I mean, a revolutionary feminist communist um, documentary director about female struggles in Muslim countries, which is a noble cause, I would think, right? I haven't seen any of these. I don't think I have, at least, right? Is fine, but it's at the other end of the scale of what is needed in a Star Wars movie. I'm not ruling out that it's. I mean, maybe. I haven't met her. I don't know. I haven't. I'm not. But it on the surface, right? It's like it's east and west, right? And I have the same feeling with Bernardokastrup here when he says, "Yes, I am writing book number, and it's number 11, the my perfect philosophy in another nutshell book that is going to on 176 pages give you a resume of how perfect it is for the little people who need the metaphors in order to understand and hand holding and all sorts of shit, right?" And then in the next breath it says, "And my partner, no, she doesn't need philosophy, right?" And that's fine because she has tits, right? It's on this level of dissonance that I mean it's so beyond incomprehensible to me. I mean, he should grab his own tits then, right? And say, if I cannot even convince my woo-woo girlfriend about the significance of my philosophy, maybe there's something I'm fighting against that is completely hopeless and useless. Maybe there's something wrong here, right? Maybe there's he should be like, he shouldn't sit there and say, "Oh, it's such an interesting thing that she doesn't give a shit about my philosophy. I'm so attracted to the idea that she doesn't she think it's I'm useless, right?" It's sort of such a wondrous thing, and she has tits, right? And women are better than men. It's such a curious. I mean, it's like what? I mean, it's completely mentally, emotionally disconnected, right? And it may say something about his his um, his ability, let me, how should I phrase that? His self knowledge and his empathetic abilities, right? And his skepticism and his will or capability of pointing or recognizing danger patterns, right? I mean, if Bernardokastrup was interested in basketball, let's say, right, and his partner said, "Well, I don't have any interest in basketball, right? It doesn't move me, right? It doesn't do anything for me, and I'm not interested in this kind of sport." It would be fine, but she could probably still say, "Well, I like that you like basketball. I'll support you. You know, fine." But when that's something different from philosophy, right? This philosophy is a deal breaker. Philosophy is a deal breaker. If somebody has a different philosophy from you, it is a deal breaker. And, you know, Bernardokastrup has shown that in his Tim Maudlin interview, right? Where he says, "Screw you, you stupid idiot," right? It is a stupid philosophy you have, right? And he runs away, basically saying philosophy is a deal breaker. If we cannot get to an agreement on philosophy, I'm going in that direction and letting you stay there, right? But apparently, if somebody else doesn't even want philosophy and they have tits and ass, right? Then it's perfectly interesting. Oh, yes, right? Tim Maudlin, they could basically, it was, you know, just a slight difference in interpretation of some kind of physics experiment, right? Could be important, but still, they are on the same page, they understand what they're talking about, they know the same kind of language, they know philosophy, they know science, and so on. Understand, I don't want to use the term know, but understand science and trained in it for many, many years, and so on. But he has to run away because they disagree, right? But his partner, right? She doesn't even give a shit about philosophy. And that is perfectly fine. I am going to live with this creature and rub my genitals against it, right? And then have a lot of, oh, she's so wonderful, right? There's just something that is not right there, right? Somebody who doesn't even give a shit about philosophy is far worse, far more dangerous than somebody who has a philosophy you disagree with, right? They are actually taking philosophy seriously and understand the importance of it. Somebody who gives a middle finger to philosophy, be fucking aware of these people, because they are adhering to some kind of power structure that they have lured you into a trap where they have used some kind of either sex bombing or love bombing or manipulation or screwing around with your mind and whatever in order to get close to you. But they are showing a fundamental deep disrespect for you as a person, in my opinion. And maybe if he had a little more individualism in his philosophy, he would say, I don't like that. If I don't want to spend my time with a creature that basically hates what I'm doing, right? I mean, his partner is not interested in philosophy, and that's perfectly fine. And she's also basically sort of a fairy tale perfect creature of thinking anyway, because for some magical reason that he can't really disclose, right? But it's like, it has breasts, and it metabolizes in a particular way that is so interesting. Oh my God! But Tim Maudlin disagrees. He's a stupid screw you asshole, right? He is a pathetic, gynocentric, woman-pandering beta male simp, right? There's no coherent argument in what he says about this particular woman and women in general. It's like, oh yes, I have to lay down and submit myself to gynocentrism in order to not be chased down by feminists. So I'll have to say women are just so perfect and men are stupid, laboring, cumbersome assholes who are they're so insensitive and dominant to women. Women have been held down by a patriarchy, conspiracy for centuries, and finally they have been freed to live with philosophers while they hate philosophy, right? I think that he's projecting his partner and other people in his vicinity, possibly, right? Maybe mother or whatever, right? Their rejection of his philosophy is he projecting onto critics and other people that are critical of his philosophy. They get his venom rather than those people in his nearest vicinity that actually should get the venom, who basically just says he's a stupid little asshole idiot for spending his time on this ridiculous philosophy, right? I think that's what's going on. That's why he jumps at a guy like Tim Maudlin. It's because of, for instance, his partner. I'm guessing here, right? That he can't chase out and call us a stupid idiot and screw you, right? Because he doesn't even care about his philosophy. Tim Maudlin actually cares about it, right? He's willing to spend supposedly several hours discussing it. But his partner, oh, she's perfect, and she doesn't even care about philosophy, right? So he's channeling his anger and disappointment onto, perfectly innocent victims in some, like me, for instance, right? Trying to chase me down for criticizing his philosophy using the government and lawyers and God knows what, right? But his partner, she doesn't need philosophy, and it's so fantastic and interesting. Oh my God, right? And I also think that there's in a beta male, weak spine person like bernardokastrup, there would be an interest in trying to fit religion and all sorts of woo-woo into his philosophy in order to embrace, contain those crazy people around him who doesn't like the philosophy. So if he says, okay, but I'm going to add some woo-woo shit, do you like my philosophy now? Can I rub my genitals against you now? If I say if I say that the big mind is also a kind of God, can I rub my genitals now? Right? I would be very, skeptical of it, right? I would worry about, in order to get his weird life to hang together, he needs to inject woo-woo shit into his philosophy. And that's one of the reasons I don't like it, right? Because it sounds, as soon as he goes into these tirades about what the big mind wants and how it works and is working for the big mind and it's gonna suck him dry, and it's like, it's one big pile of baloney, man, right? No. Let's get back into the video. I think we, let me see where we left off. It was male versus female archetype on transcending gender and individuation. That was 37 minutes. Then there's something about music relating to time. Bernardo on the Higgs boson. On the I'm seeing a painting there, right? Bernardo on the Higgs boson, right? on the beauty of Euler's equation, e to the pi I plus 1 equals 0. Okay. On reading math like a partiture, I'm not really interested. Let's talk about unidentified anomalous phenomena. Oh, that was called UFO in olden days, but now it's got a new name, so now we are taking it seriously, right? Let me just, as I said if some unidentified flying whatever thing arrives in my backyard and some little green monsters come out and ask me take you to a leader, I'll take it from there, right? But I'm not going to spend my time wondering about somebody else's claims about what they have seen, right? It's like, it would be the same, in my opinion, as I need to take seriously people's claim of Santa Claus, right? I have seen Santa Claus, and now I have to take that seriously. Or I have seen a 13-legged beaver that is green with blue spots, right? Okay, I guess I have to take that seriously now because it's an unidentified, whatever, right? No, it's a sign of bad epistemology that he takes this UAP aspect seriously. And I would bet you, this is not because he's interested in whatever UFO bullshit, right? I'm guessing. But it is very up in the times. So it's clickbait to get people to jump. Oh, there's a video about UAP. Oh, it's interesting. And oh, let me watch it. And then he hopes that they will be sort of bait and switched into listening to his weird philosophy, right? UAP, and then at the 1 hour mark, then there's a near-death experiences that we are in woo-woo territory, right? And it's prevalent in his videos when it's just around the corner, this woo-woo shit, right? I would have nothing to do with this in my discussion of philosophy. If I was doing a Q&A about whatever in the same scenario that he is, I would say I'm not dealing with that kind of stuff in my philosophy, right? It's not philosophy, in my opinion, right? Something like that. Near-death experience. But I have never had a near-death experience. And if I had one, how would I know it's a near-death experience, right? It's this woo-woo shit that annoys me so much. It's like, I have seen God. Okay, how do you know it's a God if you haven't seen one before? So how do you know what God is? Are you basing on what the pictures, the paintings you have seen? If there's a big dude on a cloud with a long white beard or whatever, right? So, that's got to be a God. What if it's an imposter pretending to be God, right? How would you know? Bullshit. Okay, so then at 1:12:35, how are it's not your experience, it's we are all in this collective, right? You can't get out of it, right? The big mind is everywhere, and you are being shanghaied by our philosophy because you're in it, you can't get out. Because the big mind is everywhere, right? You better pay attention and do what he says. Okay, let's take that one.
Reported to mind at large. So when we die, it all goes back to mind at large. But how does that work when we still live? To me, that's not really a question anymore, I think, because it is all part of mind at large. But it is spread out, so to speak, when we die, in a sense. It's structure, it's order. That's fragments of Bernardo's life experiences all over the universe.
Yeah. But the universe as it is in itself is not necessarily...
So he's pretending, he is projecting, or what's it called? Extending the idea of space into the mind at large. He is implicitly saying there's space out there where mind at large is. How does he know that? Because space, according to Bernardo's standards, is a part of your dashboard. You can't know if there's space where the big mind is. I would say you can't get to that big mind, but according to their own standards, right? It's all imaginary. It's all imagined stories, this. be fucking careful with these people.
Extended. Because extension, space-time, is an artifact of our perceptual cognition. It's how we
Okay, there he said it, right? Okay, so he's backing him up a bit.
organize information about the world to prevent being overwhelmed. It's not an objective scaffolding of the world out there. Both science and philosophy are really going in that direction now. In physics, for instance, time has lost its status as a fundamental extension in nature. It seems to be an epiphenomenon of microscopic quantum organizational templates. I don't want to use the word process because
Okay, so did you get wiser on what time is there? No, I think it's quite different, because if you're rejecting physicalism, as this guy, and supposedly I don't really care about Hansiman there or Hans Bustra, but Bernardokastrup, this is concerned about Bernardokastrup's philosophy, right? That if you're an idealist, he's basically saying everything, all the phenomena you have access to are your phenomena, right? So whenever you're referencing something directly as a phenomena, as an awareness of phenomena, that phenomena is a part of you. So if you're referencing time and aware of time in some way, you are aware of something that is a part of you. So time is a part of you somehow. Now, what is it then? Well, I think it's something that you can have a notion of, but you can't really get to what it actually is, right? Just like a dream that is, you have a memory that you dreamt something, but you can't really recall it, right? You can just remember that you dreamt something. It's almost gone, right? When you wake up and you say, okay, I had a dream. And I know I had a dream, but I can't get back to it because it has faded out almost, right? It's this same notion of time that it's just out of reach, right? But you can't just reject it because you're using the idea of time. Okay, I've tried to put my idea of time forth, which is a mental distance between memory of events. In my memory, there is a layer of the various events in the past are put in order, and the distance between them is a mental distance. I don't know how it works, but there's a mental distance between them, so that when I recall these, I also get a recollection to some extent of the distance between these and now, or between another event in the past, so to say, right? But usually it's the distance from the event to the now, right? One mechanism that might work to establish this distance is heartbeat. I know it might be a circular argument. I'm not quite sure about this, but it's sort of brainstorming, right? If the heart beats outside an idea of time, then if time is established by the heartbeat, then the number of heartbeats between events is created as a mental distance between events. I won't go further into that. It's just an idea, right?
Process is already time bound, but there is something about quantum level structure that appears to us as the flow of time. But that thing is not itself flowing in time. Know what I mean? Time flow is a projection of it. So the super advanced grand unification theories around loop quantum gravity, the alternatives to M theory and string theory.
It sounds like people looking for time in a physicalist metaphysics, right? And they are trying to find it where the physics is most complicated, because it's probably where it is, because it's so hard to understand. So it's not lying around the corner. It's not down at the grocery store, right? It's in some kind of weird 11-dimension force field of, whatever, right? That's where time is, right? So it's like, Give me a break, right?
They're all going in this direction. It's different from string theory, which proposed 10 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. Now we are like, well, there actually may be no extension at all. Nature as it is in itself may not be extended. It may be described as a sort of a set of mathematical relationships which don't flow and are not extended. So in that sense, what we see is that the states that do appear on our dashboard, the states that are represented on our dashboard.
I think that a realization that it's this thing about if you're doing this kind of, you have to keep your head on straight, right? You have to always be careful and describe what you're doing and why you're doing it and how you're doing it. When you're doing this kind of philosophy, you basically have to do it always, right? But it's very, very important at this level, right? Because you're going to go spectacularly wrong if you don't do it right, in my opinion. But the idea, let recapture it a bit, right? The whole foundations of this kind of thinking here. That if you realize the problems of physicalism, which is basically something like this. My mind is in my brain is in my skull, and my hand is outside. I'm experiencing my hand, and my hand is outside my skull, right? How does that work? Because if my hand is an experience, it must be in my mind, right? Experiences are in my mind is in my brain is in my skull, right? So if an experience of my hand is in my brain, or in my mind, which is in my brain, in my skull, then my hand can't be outside my skull then, right? It's impossible. It violates the foundations of that thinking, right? If I experience my hand, and my experience is in my mind, and my mind is in my brain, and my brain is in my skull, then that hand I'm experiencing cannot possibly be outside my skull, right? Or you're violating basic understandings of inside and outside, right? That doesn't work. There's a foundational problem there. And the problem is unidentified because, it's not unidentified, but when you grow up as a human being, you are getting accustomed to treating your experiences as an outside, right? It's just I think it's a default setting of human beings, right? It's what helps you survive. It's also the base for fear, right? Fear is about the unknown of the outside, right? So if you fear something, it's a complicated psychological thing, right? I guess to some extent. But at the end of the day, the problem is there's some fundamental problem in the inside-outside dichotomy if you say that hand is outside your experience, right? They're not saying that because that would illuminate the problem, but they are talking. It's like I'm not really sure. I was thinking like that 5 years ago, and when I try to think back of how I was thinking about this, I can't really recall what the hell I was doing. I was just taking it for granted as if I'm living in an external world. But that, at the same time I say I'm experiencing it, how the hell did I do that? It's ridiculous, right? So when you retract from that, in the short version is, then you lose that inside-outside dichotomy, at least for a while, right? When you say that I don't have access to that external hand, I have access to an experience of whatever, a hand, a car, a tree, a universe in general. The universe I'm referring to that I'm experiencing is in my mind. Even if I'm imagining something at the other ass end of the universe, it's still an imagination in my mind. It's a phenomena in my mind. So if I'm talking about an inside and outside, as I used to when I was a physicalist, and now I have rejected that because of the paradox, what is left is there is no longer a inside-outside dichotomy. There is my experiences, right? When you reach this point, there's an important remnant, as I've just pointed out, that you need to get rid of, which is the idea of an external world, at least for a while. If you're going to bring it back, an external world, you have to argue for how you get to do that, right? That is one of the problems of Bernardokastrup's philosophy, because he doesn't bring any argument along. He treats the idea of an external world as a given, even when he has rejected physicalism, right? That is a huge fucking problem that he can't see, apparently cannot see, right? And that gives all the other problems, right? That he thinks because it's given to him, he needs to explain it. And all his waking hours goes with trying to explain what the hell is going out there in an area that he has basically conjured up and he doesn't have access to. And at the end of the day, doesn't change his basic experience. He cannot allow it, at least, to change it, because it's because of that experience. He's talking about an external world. So he's taking that experience seriously in order to go and wonder about the external world. Then he cannot turn it around and come back and say, now I've created a metaphysics that changes the foundations I used to go and create that metaphysics. He would be destroying, in a circular argument, he would be destroying the foundation he used to go and create the metaphysics. So he can't come back and change whatever the experience is. So it doesn't matter what he does. All of his philosophy is basically useless. It's completely and utter useless. Because what you have access to is your daily, everyday experience. That's it. Right? The rest are ideas, abstractions, imaginations, theories, whatever, about what is going on beyond your experiences. That cannot possibly change it. Otherwise, you are violating the philosophy, right? So it doesn't matter. It's completely useless. The reason why people take it seriously is it fits with an old narrative. It fits with their childhood abuse of religion and so on and so on and so on. It's a mental, psychological safe space where you can go and have unicorn that shits rainbows, right? And Santa Claus and all sorts of, oh, it's so wonderful to think about this. It feels so good, right? To get out of reality, and that, reality is so boring and annoying. Let me go into my cloud castles, right?
Are always present states. Yeah. States related to what we call the present. We can't perceive the future. Show me, where is the future? Now show me where the past is. Where is the past? Can you point
Okay,
it?
but show me where mind at large is. Show it to me. Where is mind at large? Show it.
Can you hand the past over to me so I can measure it? We can't. Physicality is a dashboard of representation.
This kind of argument he does here, that's sophistry. That is sophist, right? It's a gaslighting tactic, right? At least it's sort of slightly in that direction, right? He's trying to bend he's moving aside some good arguments and using this sort of stupid kind of, I don't like that.
Seems to be uniquely bound to what we call the present. Memories are not the present. Memories are accesses to states.
Of course they are. What do you mean by the present? An experience of the present, if I'm experiencing my laptop here, no, that's not a memory, because that's a direct experience in my ontology. But memories are working behind the curtain, right? These are old snapshots of prior experiences, right? No, they're not the thing I am experiencing in the now, but they are accessible in the now. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the memory, right? The memory is not some kind of transcendental access to the past. Just like a photograph of your long dead grandmother is not channeling the past into the photograph or something like that, right? The photograph is just a snapshot on a piece of some ink on a piece of paper that reminds you of whatever, right?
That are in the past, to past states. So it doesn't seem to have a physical representation, which is coherent because all physical representations correspond to the present. It is just our little metaphor that we like to impose on nature of memory as records on a flash drive. Where is the flash drive in our heads? Well, guess what? It's not there because we do not represent states that are not present states. And memory is a direct access to past states. So you are not going to find them in physical representation because physical representation is consistently a present thing.
Okay, I think we'll jump to how do you know
what nature's purpose with you is.
Yeah.
If only there were the 7 steps to finding out nature's purpose.
Okay, so why the hell do I care about your philosophy? Right? Do I still have to make up my own purpose after all? After you have spent 176 pages trying to give a resume, or what's it called, a summary of your fantastic, one and only metaphysics, and then the purpose of it is, I don't know, I wish I could get to it, right? It's like, I'm just describing the ripples, right?
I'm not a recipes guy. I can't tell people what to do with their lives. I just share thoughts about what I think life is. But I can share something about how I deal with it, which may be completely inapplicable to other people's lives because we are all sort of unique.
Okay, so you're saying that we all need to have our own philosophy, basically, right? You're implying that. So you should be a spokesperson for, we all have to do our own philosophy. Yeah, it's not only that, you should take most of your philosophy to be my philosophy, and then you should do the rest yourself, right? No, I should do everything myself, right? Just like you did. You might have been inspired by some philosophers like Schopenhauer and Spinoza and Carl Jung and whoever, right? But you're making your own philosophy. I would encourage that, right? In anybody, right? Don't just eat anything raw. Do your own thinking, right? So it's I have this notion that I have with other philosophers before. They want to lecture you about philosophizing, but when they really get to the meat of the matter, they sort of throw in the towel and say, no, I'm not going to answer that question. You have to think for yourself, right? It's like in a recent video I saw with Stefan Molyneux, who's basically a fucking parody of a philosopher, right? That he has written the holy grail of philosophy, which is his UPB ethics system or morality system, right? Which, by the way, a book that I have deconstructed, and it sucks like nothing else sucks in philosophical writing, right? But it's like, my moral principle doesn't matter because at some point it enters the courts. There will be a trial, and we will have, what's it called? There will be witnesses, and there will be lawyers, and so on. But that's not ethics, man, right? Who are these people all of a sudden venturing into your... It's like, but now my moral principle only goes so far, and now we will bring in the courts, right? The what's it called? The legal system, right? It's like, what the hell kind of principle is that? It's moronically stupid, right? And it's like, as soon as the problem is here that when we get out to reality, when we get to people's actual direct experiences, it's like, oh no, 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 no. Now I'm outside my cloud castle. I'm outside my abstractions. I don't like that. That's reality. That's not for me. You have to do that yourself, right? Let me get back into my cloud castle and talk to my Rippleverse mind daddy, right?
Manifestations of nature, so I don't know whether this will have any use, but there are some hallmarks of what I like to describe as the movements of the impersonal within us, which is what nature is trying to do through you, which is totally not personal. There are some hallmarks. I directly experience the movements of the impersonal within me in a way that could easily lead some to say,
this appeal to, I have something going on inside me. I have a tempest in me. I have this, there's something stirring in my, and this mysticism, right? That's what a priest, that's what a manipulator does. All of a sudden, yes, I had an experience with God and an angel last night. And I was told that you have to go out and burn. You have to find a shrubbery, right? You have to cut down a tree with a herring. And I listened to the voice inside me. And I ventured out in the forest and to the deserts. And I looked for 40 days and 40 nights. And
say, well, if I can directly experience those movements, then they are me. And there is a sense in which this is correct, but that me is not your personal self. That me is not bernardokastrup.
Okay, I have lost it now, right? That me is not me, right? It's like, give me a fucking break in your fucking mental, circular, epicycle, bullshit, mind daddy, conjured up crap philosophy, man, right? I mean, I'm completely rejecting, I'm still deconstructing his shit because I want people to understand how much bullshit this is, right? According to my standards, at least. I am waiting for him to start doing some epistemology and doing some ethics and arriving at a moral principle, right? Please, Mr. Smarty Pants, right? No, it's like, as soon as it's about, people's direct experience of their everyday, then he puts out the towel and says, no, it's not for me. I have something stirring inside me and I'm going into woo-woo shit land here, right? I'm going to, tell biblical stories about what's going on inside me and all the angels talking to me and so, I can't base my inspiration for philosophy on somebody who's not living in reality, right?
But the ego tends to sort of try to take possession of it, to feel directly the movements of the impersonal, and then extend its whole identity to it, but still associate it with your personal name. I think that's me. I am that big. We call that ego inflation, and it can lead to catastrophe, not only in your own life, but in the lives of everybody around you.
And he doesn't have a inflated ego. What was the title of his next book? What's the title of this video? The New Worldview to Explain It All. Right? That's not ego inflated at all. No. It's just my little philosophy, right? And the latest book is something like the only functional metaphysics for the 21st century, right? 8 billion people and hundreds of years at least. It's the only functional, and I came up with it. No. I am not megalomaniacal or ego-inflated at all. But it's the perfect philosophy. And it's the new worldview to explain it all, and everybody's happy. Except my partner. She doesn't give a shit about it, right? And it's lovely. I'm still rubbing my genitals against her because I need it, right? So I'm going to accept whatever this creature called a woman is telling me, though I'm trying to, everybody else needs to change, except my partner. She's perfect for not using philosophy, right?
It's a very dysfunctional psychological process. Ego.
I think you are dysfunctional, right? You're mentally dysfunctional. It's the line between genius and crazy is I think it's something like when you leave that direct everyday experience behind you and you venture into your abstract cloud castles, you are not coming back, because there you can create whatever harebrained system you want, right? And if you come back to reality, you might end up with all this cognitive dissonance and all these problems, and have to realize that your partner is just taking advantage of you, right? And screwing you over if you don't comply, and whatever, the government is putting guns to your face and whatever. No, I want to retreat into my cloud castles. There's no difference between his philosophy and Middle-earth, right? Somebody wants to go and fight orcs and be a hobbit in Middle-earth. He wants to go to his Mind Daddy Cloud Castle, right? There's no difference. In my opinion, there's no difference.
Inflation, and it can be dysfunction at a planetary scale. You could argue that Trump and Putin are highly ego-inflated.
Oh, yes. Trump and Putin, right? How about Barack Obama, right? And his Big Mike, who has a dick, right? He had more than 2,000 drone strikes, as far as I recall the statistics, on innocent people, women, children, and men in the Middle East, while he was wearing the Nobel Peace Prize, right? Why isn't he criticizing him? Donald Trump never bombed any, innocent brown people in the Middle East with drones, right? At least it was, while he was winding down the Syria conflict at the beginning of his reign in 2020 or 2020, in 2017, I think, right? Whatever. But it's not like I'm defending Trump. I don't want anybody to rule me, right? I don't want anybody telling me what I should do and who I should live with, or what I should do with my children or my money or anything like that. I would just want you to fuck off and leave me alone, right? But it's all those who are on the other side of his established political, psychological attachment to a mantra, a dogma of political structure that is just fitting his philosophy around. His philosophy cannot criticize anything that goes on in reality, because it's not allowed to, as I pointed out earlier, right? It's completely and utterly useless, right? He's just sitting there in his fancy $1 million, living room, pretending to be smart because it makes him feel good or something like that, right? And he does because otherwise he wouldn't get access to, the vajayjays, right? And pandering to women and all this shit. It's a pile of junk, man, right?
They grew their sense of personal selves to take possession of the impersonal movements of their entire civilizations and societies. So the way I go about it is I try to keep my ego small. It is not non-existent.
You try to keep your ego small? You are on this crusade, this damn fool idealistic crusade, with a new worldview to explain it all? Oh yeah, that really sounds like a small ego. Yeah, absolutely, right? It's fake humility, right? He has a fucking Jesus complex. This guy is crazy. He's crazy. He's very smart. He's very intelligent, possibly, right? He's decently good at philosophy and science and so on. But he's fucking crazy. Okay?
had a direct experience of the presence of my ego recently in my attempt to debate team modeling.
Your attempt to debate, like he was trying to, it wasn't you at all. No, I'm so virtuous, right? So now he's trying to backtracking and frame what was going on there, right? What was going on, and I commented on it in a prior video where it's called something like Bernardokastrup acts like a spoiled princess, I think, right? But he presents whatever this physicalist experiment that they're going to discuss, or at least a starting point for discussion, and then he says, you can only believe in this conclusion if you have these not stupid, but these ridiculous ideas of physical whatever theories, right? And then Tim Martin says, well, that's silly, right? Because Bernardokastrup started out by basically indirectly calling him an idiot, right? And then Tim Martin says, well, that's silly because you this, that, and the other, and this theory and that theory. And then Bernardokastrup goes completely mental and says, it's stupid, and stupid, you're stupid, it's fucking stupid theory, it's stupid. And then he starts to say, screw you, sir, screw you, I'm going now, bye-bye. And it was like, what? What the hell, man, right? And now he tries to frame it here as some kind of, and trying to get out of it. But he is the big fucking asshole in this scenario, right? In that old scenario.
In which he pissed the hell out of me.
Yeah, so it was his fault. It was him who did it. Yeah. It's a cause an external problem. It's when we have this annoying directly access to the empirical world. He's not aligned with my mind daddy, right? He doesn't like my mind daddy. I'm going to call him stupid and screw you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There clearly is something in his personality that's present in mine. And in mine...
So he's trying to, they're both wrong, right? So if he can say, he's wrong, but I'm also a little wrong, because he has the same kind of wrongness. He is stirring that wrongness in me. I'm trying to work for it. It's a fuck off, man, right? You're just a self-absorbed, egocentric, crazy, woo-woo person, right? That's the problem.
I try to give expression to it in a way that sort of is socially acceptable. He doesn't. He just lets it all out. And that recognition, that mirror...
Lets it all out? I mean, okay, so this is sort of he's trying to manipulate your understanding of what is going on, right? This is what a sophist does. He's not going to bow down and say, I acted like an asshole, right? I'm trying to figure out what the hell was going on with me there, because that wasn't a fair treatment of Tim Maudlin. He's not going to say that, no, it's mostly Tim Maudlin's fault. Yeah, I might have a little thing I need to wear, but it's not really. It's mostly because of that stupid idiot, right? Yes.
Recognition of something that exists in me, but is sort of kept under boundaries. Seeing that reflected to me in that way pissed me off. So there is an ego there. And an ego is a good tool. You need an ego to know to which mouth to bring the fork, right? If you don't have an ego, it becomes tough.
Oh, okay. You need a mouth. So you have to think for yourself. Think about yourself. Take care of yourself, right? Okay. Yes. Isn't it important that whatever philosophy you have is functional to understand what a fork is? And what a mouth is, and what food is, right? Don't you have an ontology that very clearly takes care of these aspects? You're not eating a dial. You're not grabbing something in an airplane cockpit, right? There's a cognition of a fork. How do you have that cognition? Do you have eyes open, looking? You're having some qualia. Is this a part of your ontology? Of course not. That's not important. Except, of course, if you don't eat and so on, you'll expire, right? You'll come to meet your maker, right? It's an ex-parrot. It's ridiculous. His ontology mentions nothing about qualia and cognitions and so on. And there he is. It's important that you have an ego and you bring your fork, which is a cognition. I'm cognizing fork. Had particular colors. I'm smelling the food. I'm tasting the food, using qualia and cognitions and so on, movements and actions and possibly free will in order to grab that, stick the fork in that chicken and, make it gay and put it in your mouth, right? It's like this guy is beyond reach. It's right in front of him and he can't see it because he's so wrapped up in his epicycles, right?
But I try to keep it restricted, and the hallmarks of the movement of the impersonal, as I experience them, are the following. It tends to have nothing to do with your personal agenda.
I think this is enough about this, right? I think I got my point across. He's just riffing on his weird nature there. There's something down here that is very important to me, and that is how to derive ethics from an analytic idealism. That is possibly a trick question by the question asker, because you can't derive an ethics from a metaphysics or ontology. You have to do some epistemology first, in my opinion at least, right? Because your ethics is about regulating your actions, right? It's about creating a moral principle or morality, however you want to call it, right? Let's call it a moral principle that you are using to adjust your action. Your actions are performed in reality, in a direct experience. And in order to move about in that direct experience, you need to have some kind of knowledge, because the ethics is about what your actions does to other individuals, right? It's the effect on other individuals. These are aspects of a reality, and in order to do something together with other individuals that is not immoral, avoiding immorality, you need to be in agreement of what the hell is there, right? That's, in my opinion, why you need knowledge. So if you haven't established any knowledge, you cannot talk about ethics or morality, no matter how much ethics you have done. If you haven't done epistemology, I'm not taking it seriously. And this question basically jumps from metaphysics directly into ethics, and that is a fundamental violation of good philosophy. And if he doesn't say, oh, no, I can't do that, I haven't done epistemology, so I'm not going to give you any ethics, right? Of course not. Let's see if he treats it like that. I bet you he doesn't, right? Okay, so have a nice day. See you in the next one.